Hey guys, welcome to the newest edition of Bluethumb Artists webinar. Cool. So as usual, we'll start a bit slow, let people join in, hoping that people join in pretty quickly. And we have a very special guest today with us. He's here, but he's hidden at this point. And we'll reveal him in a few minutes. Hey, Mike. So we'll go ahead, or we'll just wait for 1 more minute. We still have 1 minute to go while people join in.
It's 11 people that want to know.
Yeah. Cool. Almost there. All right, cool. I'll just start talking about a few things while people join in, and just, we'll be here for questions and answers. I have a feeling that this is going to be a slightly longer webinar, which is good because the past couple of ones were pretty short, which is also good. Cool. So I wanted to start this week and address the packaging post that we had put on the Facebook group. A lot of things have come out of it, and we sat down and had a chat, and I just wanted to go through those things with you guys. And I will be mindful that not all of our webinars and not every conversation is about packaging and insurance. We're getting a feeling that it's all about that lately. Okay, I'll just address the most important thing first. There was a feeling that the post was a bit harsh towards, putting up the pictures. And it's one point of view, but that was absolutely not the intended purpose. But saying that at the same time, I do understand that, from a different point of view, it did look like that. The sole intention of that post was just to make aware, sort of share with you guys that when we are dealing with someone, a client, a commercial client, especially on behalf of someone else, like the artists, it's quite important for the first impressions. If the first impression is not ideal, if the first impression is not high standard, it's very difficult to pull it back and change their impression at a later stage. And that was the main idea and purpose behind that. But at no point are we saying, obviously everything that we say on a public platform affects everyone differently, and we understand that, and we try to understand each and every perspective and go from there. But it is obviously difficult. We've learned a few things from this, and I'll just go through that in a minute, just one by one. All these matters that come up, we try to approach them quite objectively. And in saying that, what I mean is that it wasn't, when we say something like this, it's no reflection on a general behavior of one particular person or even a group of people. It's not about, hey guys, this is usually how it is and it needs to change. No, that was not the intention, and I feel that wasn't clear enough in the post, and it could have been. The other thing to note is that a lot of times when in a public forum where there are a lot of recipients and one thing is said, it's really difficult to say that this is not the case. I mean, it's very difficult to say the negative side of it, or the things that we're not saying. What I'm trying to say is, when we try to be objective about something and say, hey guys, this happened, and it's important that this particular case doesn't happen, but that doesn't mean that this happens regularly, or this happens with all the cases, or this, all the things that happen around it. It's not a generalization of anything. So we do know that could have been better. So from that post, like from the harshness point of view, I do want to say that it has been a learning curve, and the phrasing, the presentation is definitely very important for us because we are addressing so many of you. We try and see from each individual person's point of view, but obviously it's difficult and we do miss. But lessons learned, and we'll try to be a bit better when it comes to things like this. Another thing I wanted to mention is we really wanted to jump in and comment and sort of interact with you guys on that post, but we didn't do that because it was a very interactive post. It's very easy for our comments as a brand to get missed, or sort of, because there's so many replies coming in, some of them might be missed, and then they get hidden, and things like that happen. And that's why we wanted to wait for this webinar so we can address it openly, clearly, and that's why we didn't mention anything in the webinar. So please don't feel that we didn't monitor what was going on and we didn't get involved. We went through it properly, and we wanted to address it here. Also just wanted to add a couple of things again about packaging. Is there were a few points that came up which I feel are important, and although we do have answers of these in our FAQ section, but they might not have been seen by all the others. So a few questions that came in about packaging is the very simple one, first shipping, like shipping costs came up. So I see that there's still a few artists who are not sure if they can ship their own artworks. Just wanted to say that yes, you can. If you find that it's easier and more comfortable for you to ship your artworks yourselves, please do. Just make sure that we know, the buyer knows, the artworks are insured and they are tracked and all of those things. Because if everything goes smoothly, it's perfect. But if it gets delayed or it gets lost or something like that happens, buyers reach out to us and we need to take immediate action. But if we haven't sent it, we can't actually make an inquiry because we are not the sender. So we don't actually have any rights to say, oh, where is it? Or like lodge an inquiry or stuff like that. So just make sure that all of those sides are covered and you let us know. That's all. There were a few questions about insurance, on guidelines, on how it works. So I just wanted to reiterate that we don't set guidelines on insurance. We follow them from the insurance companies. So just try to see it from their point of view, is that every time there's a claim, we are asking them to pay a substantial amount of money towards something that's damaged. So basically they are buying that thing from us and they don't want to. So we have to convince them to do that. And what that means is they dispute every single thing that we say, and we have to come back with proof of, if you're saying this was damaged in transit or if it's mishandled, we have to come back with, if it's not their responsibility to prove us wrong, it's our responsibility to prove ourselves right. And that's why we've been banging on about take photos when you back your artwork, so you have your proof. When the artwork's leaving you guys, we need to know. You don't have to send it to us. Keep it with you in case we need it. It's really important that we get it, because then we can just say, here's a photo of when it left the sender, and this is what it is when it reached the receiver. So whatever's happened in transit is covered in the insurance, and that makes everything quite easy. So we can stand our ground and say, this is it. A lot of times it has happened with us. We don't necessarily get in touch and tell the person involved in that case where we didn't have photos, something was damaged in transit. We obviously refunded the buyer, and then because the claim didn't go through, we lost that, but we still paid the artist because we didn't want to lose them. So those cases do happen, but obviously we do want to avoid them because it's a huge loss for us, because we lose not once but twice. Like we lose the sale and then we also have to pay the full amount to the artist. Cool. So those are the guidelines. Oh, the other thing I wanted to say is the length of the insurance process is usually 4 to 6 weeks easy, because unless we have all the things at our fingertips, so we can just send them in one go, because it's a really tedious process where they come back to us for one information at a time or email, and it takes ages anyway. So it's really good for us to have everything together, to send them all together. And I'll just wrap up on this so we can stop talking about packaging and insurance for a while at least. Is a few good things came out of the conversation on that post. One thing is recycled packaging, and we do see that we haven't done a lot of articles or research or done a bit of resource collection for you guys on that front, and we can do that. It's not difficult. And there were some really good ideas from a lot of different people in there on how to use recycled packaging and how to use sort of like packaging material from storage units or like storage places or your framers or other local stores and stuff like that. And that's all really helpful. We'll try and sort of consolidate it somewhere so you can use that. Also, at that point, we do want to mention that at no point we are asking anyone of sort of like pushing anyone to buy new packaging. That is not our intention. We try to not market our own boxes that much just because of that reason, because we don't want to force it on anyone. The boxes that we have, they're not something that we get produced. Like we don't have a regular production going on. We did a bunch, and that was an initial investment from us. It cost quite a lot of money for us to do that. And they're all packaged up and staying here. So if they sell, which we sell them at cost price, plus we also cover a lot of time shipping because if they're going to stay. So it's not really about making money. It's all about just sort of getting that out there so you guys can see that this can be done. And and at no point we are saying that you should buy new boxes. If you can get recycled material, definitely do it. But also, obviously, just the end product of when the artwork is bagged, it needs to be, or when I say it needs to be, it should be well finished. It shouldn't. It just needs to be presentable, and that's the point. It's also time for us to update our packaging video, which is me packing an art almost a year and a half ago. So we need to do that again a bit better, and we do that soon enough because we do have a lot of stuff going on here, so we should be able to squeeze that in. So that's all that I wanted to say about that post, and I'm sure there will be questions at a bit later when people join in. More people join in, and we'll be here to answer and address that. In saying that, that's all from me. Do you want to?
Yeah, cool. So now we are going to hear from our special guest, Ben Tankard. He's going to just talk about sort of Bluethumb experience, selling online, ask any questions in the chat, and then we'll go through them at the end. So welcome, Ben.
Hello, thank you. Thank you, Sarah and Shiraz. So I'll just talk about myself a little bit first, and then I'll give some tips. And if I talk too long, just tell me to stop talking. So I paint full-time now. I've been painting full-time for 2 years. Before that, I was working in retail. I was working in retail for 23 years. I worked in a bookshop for 15 years. I'm the guy who paints the Penguin books. So you're probably sick of seeing those, but that's something coming out of my having worked in a bookshop. I studied fine art at uni, and I put paintings in prizes as often as I could. And in 2012, I got in the Sulman Prize. And the Sulman Prize is held at the same time as the Archibald Prize. It has a lot of, hundreds of thousands of people see it, and it's in the Art Gallery of New South Wales. And that was a big kind of confidence boost. So after I'd been in the Sulman Prize, I started like every day. And I started a Facebook art page at the same time. And Facebook was pretty good at that time. I got like, thousands of people seeing each post, and I got a good following in Facebook. Can we say competitors' names or no? In a bad way. It's bad. It's not positive.
No, please.
No,
please. This is...
All right. So I used to sell a lot of paintings on Etsy, and I used to sell them very cheap, like kind of $20 plus postage. And I sold hundreds of paintings there. And it was good practice in terms of painting hundreds of paintings of different subjects. So it was good practice technically, also good practice in terms of marketing, social media, packaging things up and selling to America and whatever. and I was gradually increasing my prices as I went. But I think Etsy's got a pretty low ceiling for people selling art in terms of the prices. In 2015, another artist, Gavin Hurley, put me onto Bluethumb. I think Bluethumb was pretty new at the time. That was 5 years ago. And I was selling at the time, I wasn't painting the penguin books yet. I was selling landscapes and surrealist paintings. And they were selling like well, but it was still a hobby. But in about 2016, I started painting the penguin books, and so painting more pop art and abstract art, and they just kind of exploded. And I was selling them through Bluethumb quite regularly, selling them with other galleries and dealers. Some of the galleries and dealers were better than others, but you constantly learn a lot working with lots of different platforms. I've never had any problems with Bluethumb. I've had a lot of problems with other people who I won't name, but Bluethumb's always been fantastic. And I think I started selling them at $400 each. And then in the beginning, every 3 sales, I increased it by $50. So that was just I'm not recommending anyone do that, but that was just my strategy at the time. And I got them, it's probably about $800, $900. They still sell very steadily. I've sold probably close to 300, I think. And I'm not sick of it. And it's not a cynical thing where I'm just churning them out to make money. Like I go to art galleries and I look at modern art, and I love modern art. Like recently I went to the Brett Whiteley gallery in Sydney, and his early abstract works really inspired me to like kind of add string into the paintings and add bits of pencil and different textures and things. And I'm always changing the sizes and the textures and the colors and the materials. I've made them out of wood and made them on paper out of collage and things like that. So I'm still experimenting. Also, I've been going to classes. I think it's like you've got to keep experimenting and growing. So I've been going to drawing classes, printmaking classes. I'd recommend that to anyone, even if you just paint like ships or something. I recommend you go and do pottery or something. Like just branch out, do different things, and they all feed back into each other. So I studied printmaking, for instance, and I started putting kind of lino printing into some of the paintings on paper. What else should I say? So on Bluethumb, I upload art as often as I can. It's not as often as I'd like. Sometimes it's once a fortnight. I'm not holding back. I'm putting them on as fast as I can, but I also get commissions and other things that I've got to do. The question I get asked the most, because I paint the penguin books, is have I been sued? And I haven't been sued. Andy Warhol was painting or screen printing Campbell's soup cans and Brillo boxes in the 60s, and he didn't get sued. If you look on Instagram, look up pop art on Instagram, everyone's painting Batman and Superman and Mickey Mouse and whatever. As long as you're not making your own Batman comic books and selling them as Batman comic books, you're not in competition with DC Comics. You're making an artwork for a wall, so it's totally different. So no, it's fine basically. Artists have been doing it for decades. It's not a problem. So some of the advice I would give is enter prizes as often as you can. It can be kind of demoralizing if you don't get in. It's often like it takes a whole day to sit in the car and drive the painting somewhere, or it's even worse if you're sending it to Melbourne or whatever and you've got to package it up and spend $100 on a courier or whatever. But it's better than playing the lotto. It's like the odds are 1 in 100 instead of 1 in a million. And you get a painting in a show, not only might you win a prize, but you get a lot of exposure to people who see it. You can potentially get commissions out of it. It looks good on your resume to have 2 or 3 prizes that you've been in every year. It shows that you're kind of interested in serious art as well as just you're not just selling decor. There's something behind it. So if you're still at the early stage of your career, I'd recommend keeping your prices low and then just gradually increasing them. If you're only breaking even on materials and everything, it's still worthwhile to, you'll improve your skills painting a lot of things, and you'll learn a lot about the business, and you'll get your artworks in a lot of people's homes, and then their friends and relatives might see them and buy them, and so it's all worthwhile. I don't personally do sales. I think about once or twice a year, I'll do like 20% off for one weekend on social media. I'll announce that. And sometimes I'll offer like a small discount to return buyers, things like that. But doing like a 50% off sale, because people will say, well, if you can afford to sell them at 50% off, like it's not really worth the full price, or it just kind of looks a bit bad. I respond to emails and messages straight away. Dealing with galleries and whatever, not Bluethumb, dealing with other people who take days to respond, like it gets annoying, and it's best to just reply on the spot. And even if you can't give a concrete answer, just say, I'll check with my canvas suppliers, I'll check with the courier, I'll get back to you. But, like, respond quickly. If you have kind of misfortunes, or like a delivery goes missing or something like that, don't talk about the bad things on social media. Like, only talk about the good things, so that you seem kind of competent. Like, potential buyers want to think that it's going to be a seamless process getting the painting. They don't want to think it's going to get lost, or you're going to stuff it up somehow. So, I mean, just whinge to your friends, but just keep anything on social media positive. Go to art galleries as often as you can and look at great paintings. Like, I went down to Melbourne last weekend and I walked through both the big galleries there, and that was amazing. Support other artists, so follow them and go to their shows and share their shows. Just promote each other. And I've got paintings by other artists behind me, and I buy other artists' work and I swap and things like that. Work on multiple paintings at a time. So if you're painting something and it's not going well, just move on to something else, come back to it tomorrow or a few hours later or whatever. So don't get hung up on one painting that's not doing well. Like, I often paint on kind of 10, 15 paintings at once, and you can just move between them quite quickly. And finally, I think buy the best materials you can afford. So it's often worthwhile finding a good canvas maker rather than buying the store-bought ones. And it's not often much more expensive. It might be 20% more expensive. Like, you can buy the Winsor & Newton ones in a chain store. It's probably cheaper to get them tailor-made from a supplier. And you've got to, it might take you a while to find a good supplier. I finally got a good one. But it's probably worthwhile, and it's not very expensive. And then you get good quality frames that won't warp and buckle, and the canvases are nice and everything. So I think that's about it.
Cool. We would like you to just sort of mention the artist that you have on your walls.
Yeah.
Well, there's Jan Alsop here, the test pattern one artist. That aren't Bluethumb. Should I skip the non-Bluethumb artists?
Don't worry.
But,
the Amaze Dixon.
Yeah.
Anna Katie.
There's Chi Yong from Tasmania there, who did the little kind of ghost face. Pamela Honeyfield, who did the little abstract. These are Richard Claremont's. This is Debbie McKinnon, Maz Dixon, Philippa Montier up the top there.
Yeah, we can see how.
There's a Katie Wyatt there. Linda Street, Steve Warburton, Philip Kent, and Joe Rona. Yeah, I've got others which I haven't got around to framing yet, but yeah, I'll get there.
Yeah, you almost have enough for your own gallery.
Yeah. I wouldn't. I mean, I'd prefer to spend money on art, nothing else really.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of,
Yeah. No, it's good to have a collection. I think I could spot a few before, but yeah, the other artists I haven't seen before, but there's some that I can definitely identify. I did want to ask you, Ben, maybe talk us through just quickly on what's your process of when you finish a piece and you put it up online, and how do you go about it? Like, just in terms of your own self-promotion, how do you go about your social media and stuff like that?
I don't do anything fancy. I put them. I mean, if I upload it on Bluethumb, I share it on Instagram and Facebook, and that's about it, really. Sorry, I don't have any kind of fancy, complex answer for you.
No. But, there's no complex answer.
And just put the URL on your Facebook page, and they can link back to it, and yeah. That's all.
Do you ever do paid promotions on social media at all?
I used to, and I think they used to be a lot more worthwhile than they are now.
Yeah.
And the thing is, with my paintings, like the penguin books have words in them, and for some reason, Facebook punches them. So, like, it shows it to like 100 people or something for $10. It's not really worth it.
Yeah.
So I don't really do that anymore.
Yeah. It's quite difficult
Yeah.
and important to keep up with Facebook or whichever platform you're marketing with their guidelines, because they change quite a lot. And if you're not up to it, like you said, your audience goes down unless you've actually factored in what they actually look for. But yeah, paid promotion works for some people and really doesn't work for a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. And we know when we met you in Sydney, we did talk a little bit about how much time you spend per piece, and even like on an average day, how long do you spend on just paintings?
Yeah. Well, I've got 2 kids, but they're both in school now. So I paint kind of, between 9 and 3, 5 days a week, as much as I can. And then like, no matter how much time you get, like while I was working in retail, I was painting at nights, and I was thinking I'd love to be able to paint in the day, but you get that and you still want to paint more. So there's no amount of time would be sufficient. But I still paint a lot, like late at night pretty often. So yeah, and like I do find like you've got to push yourself to do it. Like sometimes, like like if you get a big commission for 9 paintings or something like I had recently, and like it's just an all-day job kind of thing. You just got to get through it.
Mm.
Yeah, was that the ships one?
Yeah, some steamships.
I was following that on Insta.
Yeah, it came out of the blue, but it's pretty cool. I should say as well, like if you get a commission for something that you wouldn't normally paint, like if someone says, "Can you paint me a fern or something?" and you've never painted a plant in your life, it's going to be good practice. Just do it. Someone wants a portrait, or if there's a prize for a portrait, give it a go. You'll probably just get better at painting portraits and ferns.
Yeah, and I could
can't
be
hurt.
At any point. Cool.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I think it cut out. So I was just saying that it could easily be a turning point. You never know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Cool. We'll just quickly go through a few comments. I'm not sure if you're able to see the comments, but there might be.
There is one for you from Freddie. Freddie.
Hi, Freddie. Yep.
He said, "Would you like to do an art collector's home blog?" So it's like similar to the one that Freddie's house and Megan's house have done.
My house is pretty dingy, apart from like this one wall. So it would just be like a photo of this one wall.
That's all right. We can make it.
But potentially, yes.
We've got Photoshop.
Potentially, yes. Yeah.
Cool. Well, maybe Freddie will get in touch with you about that.
Yeah, cool.
Today or some point.
Yep.
Okay.
Cool. So we're just going to go through comments and just see if there are any questions. And if there are any for you, we can send that through to you.
Everyone's been very positive. They've all said you've giving really good advice and everything like that. So.
Oh, cool. All right. That's good.
And I have to agree with them as well.
There's one from Jacqueline on Facebook. A question about, this is unrelated to what we're talking about now. It's just a feature, and she was asking, is there a function to make drafts of the listings or save them for later rather than just publishing them straight away? And yes, there is, but at this point of time, we can do it from our end, but the artists can't. I mean, when you sort of sign in, you can't do that. So you can publish it and just maybe let us know which ones you want as drafts, and we can do that for you. Another way of doing it is when you upload the full thing, put in all the info, just don't publish it. If you leave it for about 10 seconds or 15 seconds, it automatically saves as a draft. But just to be sure, if you want, you can publish it and then we can push it to draft as well. But that is something that will be available to artists to do themselves as well later. It's definitely a good idea. We do use it a little bit.
Haley Kruger said, how did you go with your fine lines, Ben? What did you decide worked?
Sorry, switching my microphone back on. Not great. I used a rigger brush, which a few people recommended, which has kind of bristles that are about like an inch long. And I used Atelier Flow, which I had to add water to. And like my hands are too shaky. It wasn't great, but and took all the paintings and they were happy with them, so that's fine, really.
Okay.
Cool. Also, just about something you were saying about replying quickly and being positive. It's pretty much what we cover in sales training.
Yeah.
When we sort of get used to working, and I say sales, it's not really sales. Like we are not. I mean, Sarah and I and we don't really do sales. It's just communication, but it's really important for us to reply as soon as possible. And like you said, even if you don't have the answer straight away, just say, hey, I've got your question, received, acknowledged, and I'll get back to you as soon as I have the answer. What that does to buyers or to whomever you're talking to is just let them know, like it puts them at ease a little bit so that they know that someone has received the answer, is looking into it. It just gives them a bit more confidence. So all the things you said, Ben, they're pretty much spot on to what we follow as well.
It's just from your own experience, if you email someone and they take 3 days to reply, like it's just annoying and you think, are they avoiding me or whatever? So just common sense.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, like when we talk, like when I personally talk to some other website for something, and if I get an automated response saying we'll be getting in touch with you in 24 to 48 hours, and I get annoyed, I'm just like, that is just not acceptable. But probably shouldn't be doing that. Cool.
Yeah. I think that's it in terms of questions. So if anyone does have any questions, ask them now, because I'm going to talk about the meetup that we had on Wednesday. So get it in now before I finish, is what I'm going to say. It went really, really well, the artist meetup that we held in Melbourne. We had a great turnout. I think about 40 people came in total. And it was so much fun. I think we all mingled a little bit, and everyone got to meet the team, and I think realized how small we are. There's only 6 of us here, so in Melbourne, and it was great to meet artists and put names to faces. And some of the artists, I didn't actually recognize them, but I knew their art straight away, so I could tell who they were. And it was just really fun, really casual. We gave out prizes. We gave out three prizes, and we just happened to have 4 winners. So Eve's is in the mail. So yeah, it was a bit casual, a little bit fun. We definitely learnt how to do it again, and from the response that we've got, we're definitely going to do it again. And we're going to look into doing it in sort of different locations around Australia, but mainly sticking to sort of capital city areas. So this is something that will definitely happen in the new year, and we'll keep you posted. But it was a great event. Is there anything else you want to add?
I'll just say that it was really good to actually meet a lot of you guys in person. What we did that day, which we got the idea from Titan Laurent. She used to hold similar meetups, and she invited very kindly Freddie and me on one of those occasions. And what she used to do at that point of time was, so all the artists who would come in, they would bring a piece of art, and then they can put down, and sort of like everyone looks at each other's art. There's this small little kind of like a people's choice thing, but it's all really casual and supportive. So, so you get like these voting chips, and you can vote on those artworks, and the top few sort of come to the front and they talk about a little bit, and then you can ask questions. And it's mostly just, like a group of individuals who have a common interest. They get together, and that's what we tried. We took the idea from her, and then we try to do the same, and we'll keep on doing that. We're still not sure about the frequency, but we will try and do that in more locations as well. So you guys can come see us, and we can see you as well. It was quite a lot of fun when people were here, because we are so used to calling all the artists on Bluethumb with their full name. So we never, like when we're talking amongst each other, we always say the first and the last name, because that's how we identify you. But when it was a bit, it was funny, like when we actually met people in person, we were so compelled to say the full name, but then you're like, oh, we actually don't need to say the full name, we can just say the first name. But it's the kind of thing that was, it made it a bit more sort of like fun and casual to see all of you guys. Yeah, cool. So essentially, it's the idea behind it was to get to know a lot, a lot of our artists that we haven't actually met in person, and we'll continue to do that, and hoping that these events will grow, so you guys can come in and say hello to us. We're a small team here in Melbourne, and we also have two people in Adelaide.
Yeah, two.
And so sometimes it's difficult to hold bigger events because we can't really keep the day-to-day stuff aside, but we try to include all of it. So the frequency of doing these events might be somewhere between once in 2 months or once in 3 months or something like that. But we'll keep you updated as we go. And there's always cheese.
There's always cheese, yes.
These events, so you can definitely come.
Cheese and wine. So just to kind of wrap up, to let you know kind of what we're doing for the rest of the year. So it's almost coming to a close. We're almost in December. We are going to hold one more live webinar this year, which will be the 11th. I'm pretty sure that I'm just going to double check that because I thought I wrote down the 11th, but yeah, on the 11th. So that's going to be the last webinar for this year, and then we're going to be back in January on the 15th. So we're swapping the Tuesday. So it'll be every fortnight from the 15th of January. For the last webinar, we're going to have Alex, who manages all our trade clients, come in and have another chat to everyone. We've had a few trade sales, and she kind of just wants to go over a few more points and answer any questions you may have. So it'll be a really good webinar if you're trying to kind of break into that market. And that's about it. So if anyone has any more questions, now's the time. I'm just going back into it. Ooh.
With the trade sales that Alex wants to talk about, the more we're growing, the more commercial clients we're getting, and the more things we learn. In just from every point of view, from the very beginning on how they try to find art, or like who finds art when there's a bigger project, and all those kind of things, and how the search goes, and how the shortlist, how the approval goes, and all the the whole process. And we've learned a lot. So Alex will try and shed a bit of light on that side of things that might help you guys to just sort of be prepared, those kind of things. And also we'll try and talk about what our process is when we get these kind of projects, how we go about getting artworks that suit the project, or all those kind of things. So I think it'll be a pretty interesting and pretty helpful webinar for you guys.
So Melinda just said, what do you mean by trade sales? So these are with our trade clients, so like interior designers, architects. There's a lot more. So
these are the people who are buying these artworks not for their own homes, but they're buying them for their clients. They are usually not one single artwork that is being sold. So they usually have a bunch of artworks for a particular project. One very simple abstract idea is like what Ben was talking about an old age care home. So when these new builds come up, these projects come up, they allocate architects, and then the architects most of the times have their own interior designers, or they hire external interior designers. These guys inspect the property and the plans and decide which, what kind of artwork is going to suit here, if it's going to be a print or an original or a sculpture or whatever. And then when they are in that stage of selection, they get in touch with suppliers like us, and then so we work with these guys for these kind of sales. So these clients that we have, so we usually interact either with the architects or the interior designers. So these are the clients that we have that we call trade clients. And Alex is the person in the team who leads that side of things, and she interacts with pretty much all of them. So that's what it means.
Yeah, in short terms.
Cool. Julian's saying she might not be there. That's all good. Julian, I hope things go well for you. This will all be recorded, so you can catch it anytime. And always for questions, feel free to put them up on the Facebook group or here, and we will always answer that.
Ben, you might get a couple questions on the Facebook page. Feel free to just jump in and answer them as you go. But thank you for coming on.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, second artist. Woo!
Yeah. Thanks very much.
Yeah.
All right, cool. I think we'll sign off, and we'll see you guys all on the 11th of December.
Cool.
See you then.
Bye.
Bye.